Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am, of course, Mr. Warren Hayes, and this is the Raw recap. No, not only the Raw, excuse me. The Raw, the Superstar Shakeup Raw edition. Right? April 15, 2019. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. This Raw that has such huge implications on the history for moving forward with Raw. That's what we're talking about tonight. It's that season. It's WrestleMania's gone. We're throwing wrestlers around from one brand to another because suddenly, all of a sudden, the brands did slip. They sort of started slipping into each other. It sounded kind of weird. It sounded better in my head. But now suddenly the brands, they have to be separate again. We have to create like two nice little areas where we keep, you put your livestock on either side of the fence, right? You don't want the horses hanging out with the cows, because then at some point, the cows will realize just, how much better the horses have it, and then the cows are going to get jealous. Trust me, my grandfather was a farmer. Anyway, so let's celebrate tonight the return, reaffirmation of the brand split. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it together tonight. We're gonna do it as a group, as a bunch of folks, a family, a tightly knit unit. That's where we're gonna do it tonight here on YouTube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, because I do these live. And again, this is a live show. I do these live every Monday night after Raw. And the cool thing is that I am joined by a bunch of very cool people in the chat. I got a nice little live chat going. We got a nice little group of folks who come and decide to hang out here after Raw instead of crying themselves to sleep. Tonight we have Mr. Fretz. We have the most handsome mod, Blaine Mendoza, is here as well, making sure everything runs smoothly. Joe Anthony is here as well. CM Phil, JPQ, how you doing? Michael Stepney, CM Phil, Maven Glean, Robert Larry's in the house as well. Gosh, Donna J. King is here. Whole bunch of great folks. Shane Haas as well. Look at all these fantastic people. Look at all these great people who are going to come in here and make sure you're all entertained when I am unable to do so. So if you're watching right now, hey, you know what's a cool thing to do is to give this video a thumbs up, and even if you're not watching it live right now, give it a thumbs up. And I'll tell you what, the thumbs up thing, there's a reason why every person who does YouTube videos asks to do it. There's a reason why, and that's because it helps. It helps out a great deal. YouTube looks at the number of likes that a video gets and like, maybe we should toss this over to other people who are interested with in wrestling. And then the Mr. Warren Hayes Show starts spreading around a little, and then next thing you know, I can't handle the fame anymore, and my spirit is crushed under the weight of my one part my ego and the other part of the responsibilities that come with having so many people watching me, and I just fizzle out and I turn to dust. So if that's a fate that you wish upon me, please do go right ahead. Click the like, give it a thumbs up. I really would do appreciate it. And so even if you, like I said, even if you're not watching this live, if you're watching this later on your own time on demand, please do consider doing so. Consider subscribing if this is the first time you're here. And perhaps you're even listening to this on a podcast application, because the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is available on all popular and not so popular podcast applications. So you can just type in Mr. Warren Hayes on applications such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, Himalaya. It's all there. Mr. Warren Hayes Show is there, so you can listen to it there, and you know, show some love there as well. If it's through a review, a star review, a heart, a like, a subscription, a follow, whatever it is, whatever you do, the tiniest minute things like that, they help out so much for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show to grow and go farther and better and faster and stronger. And you know, speaking of podcast applications, I don't know if I recently stumbled across a new podcast application that, you know what it does? You know what it does? It gives you the opportunity to get some free stuff. Now, I don't know about you folks, but I like me some free stuff. You're like, a podcast application that gives me free stuff. How does this happen? Well, technically speaking, you get free stuff by downloading this podcast application and listening to podcasts. And the more podcasts you listen to, the more free stuff you can get. You're like, what? What? People are going to give me free stuff for listening to podcasts? What is this? How do I find this El Dorado? Where is it? Well, it's very simple. You just go either on the Apple App Store or on the Google Play Store, and you look for an application called Podcoin. Podcoin. It's the podcast player that pays, that gives you Podcoin money that you can exchange for cool stuff. Do you like coffee? Well, you can get Starbucks. You can get Starbucks gift cards. Do you like purchasing things online? Well, you can get Amazon gift cards. And maybe you're a selfless type of person. Maybe you're like, the money that I accrue, I like to return some and try to make a difference. Well, there's charities associated as well that you could give money to your podcast coins to charity as well. So basically you can claim gift cards, you can give to charity. It's an amazing podcast, and all you do to make money to get these bucks is just listen to podcasts. You're doing it anyway, so why don't you switch over there and give it a try? So, and I've started recently using it. I think the interface is super smooth. It's a pretty app. It's not cluttered. There's no ads running. It's nice. It's a nice clean interface, and you can get into it. And you know what? If you want to get into it and you head on over to Podcoin on your favorite app store and you sign up, listen to this, folks. Use my show code. Mr. Hayes Show. That's MR Hayes Show. And by doing that, you will get 300 Podcoin bucks money just for doing that, just for signing up. So you're already like, I think it's like a fourth way there to getting a $5 gift card at Starbucks for some coffee. Who doesn't want coffee? Jesus. So I do suggest you head on over and give it a shot, give it a try. You get it on the App Store, you get it on the Google Play Store, Podcoin. And like Bobaruski says, Bobaruski right here in the chat, how you doing, by the way, says, I have 1 million podcast apps. Guess what, Bobaruski? How many of your podcast apps give you money for listening to applications? I'm going to tell you, none of them, unless you download the Podcoin podcast application. Go check that out and sign up with Mr. Hayes Show. I'll get it right. Mr. Hayes Show, and get 300 Podcoin. On top of that, I want to say hello to Webby as well, who's here. That's fantastic. And Joe Anthony asks, hey, you know what? Full disclosure here. And Joe Anthony says, Warren, how much Podcoin are you getting for this ad? You know what? For the ad in and about itself, I'm not getting anything. I'm not getting a thing. But by running the ad, I will be featured. I will be featured on the Podcoin application, And by being featured, if you listen to my if you listen to my podcast on Podcoin while I'm featured, well, you actually get more Podcoin. So you listen to me, you get up to your you can accrue more money for your Amazon gift card. It's a pretty sweet deal when you think about it. But legitimately, I have started using it. I wouldn't be talking about it if I didn't like it, to be perfectly honest. And I like the application. It's really nice and smooth. It's a great application. It runs really smoothly. No ads, nothing. Nice and clean interface. I like it. What else have we got here? Oh yeah, well hey, tomorrow's Tuesday. Not Wednesday just yet. It's not Wednesday just yet. But tomorrow is Tuesday. You know what that means? It means I'm gonna do my my SmackDown Live recap show, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live once again on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. So make sure you come and join me for that. Then on Wednesday over on Fightful Select for my 205 Live NXT UK recap show. Fightful Select, of course, the premium service to Fightful.com. You sign up, you get all sorts of extra wrestling content, extra podcasts, extra fun, extra tasty things in your ears. If your ears are used to taste things, then you will find them tasty. And if your ears are used to taste things, well, I would consider going and seeing a doctor, because that would probably imply that you have some sort of genetic mutation that would require further research in a high-level government medical facility. So do sign up to Fightful Select. Come and see me. I do my 205 Live NXT UK recap show live as well. So you can come join me as well right there. And then that's it. That's all I'm doing this week, isn't it? It seems to me that's all I'm doing this week. No, on Friday, I had to postpone last week. I was supposed to do RJ's the revisionist booking podcast last week, and I had a bit of a snag. Couldn't make it, but we rescheduled for this week, so we're going to be recording on Friday. And if you haven't, so I'm going to be recording on Friday. That'll be out soon. And I also recorded this weekend an episode of Why We Watch with Darren Kirkby, which was a lot of fun. Darren's going to release that on his own schedule, but be sure to follow me on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes to know when that good stuff starts popping up. Speaking of good stuff, are we going to talk about Raw tonight? Are we going to start talking about the Superstar Shookup? I think we should. And listen to this, folks. I got the Warren board ready here. For those of you who are listening via podcast, what a shame. But for those of you who are watching right now, and this is for chat tonight, we're gonna have a little fun here tonight, chat. Fun, super fun. I'm gonna write down. As I'm talking about the recapping the shows, I'm going through Raw. Every time we get a superstar shook up, a star that has been shooken over to Raw, I'm gonna put his name up on the board. And then you guys in chat, you're going to vote either for yay or nay. Yay being, why vote yay or nay? Was it a good idea for that superstar to leave SmackDown and go on Raw? So yay is yay, it was a good idea. Nay is nay, 'twas not a good idea. And we can vote with Y's and N's in chat. How about that? How about that? So we're gonna go through all of these once in a while. We're gonna go through these as we go along. So don't start saying, "Oh, Cedric Alexander." We're not talking about Cedric Alexander yet. All right. And how's it? And all right. So I think we're gonna go right to it. How about that, chat? We're gonna do this, folks listening not on chat. Yeah, let's do this. The show starts with Stephanie McMahon coming to the ring and getting a warm Montreal reaction. I'm a little bit bummed that I wasn't able to make it to the Super Shooken Up tonight, and I won't be on SmackDown. Montreal is close to my hometown. I'm usually able to go to the shows, but they'll be back. We'll go another time. It's no biggie. But man, being a part of the Montreal crowds, it's part of the fun. So it would have been my pleasure to boo Stephanie McMahon out of the building, perhaps even shout out a few unsavory terms towards her. But she comes to the ring, and then she invites Shane to come to the ring because of course we're gonna have a big evening ahead of us. You know, a momentous occasion. It has to start with McMahon's, right? It has to. So basically, so they hug. Is Stephanie a heel again? Because she hadn't been really much of a heel recently. So I don't know. Shane does, or at least tries to get. No, actually, he does succeed. He gets the ring announcer to do the long introduction because, of course, this is what we're waiting for. This is what gets us really hype. Is the McMahon kids starting off an episode of Raw, right? And then he asks the ring announcer to say it en français, in French. And the ring announcer's like, no speaking French. And so basically Shane then tries to say best in the world, but in French. And I swear it took me 3 times, like he said it 3 times, and it took me 3 times to understand what he was saying. He was butchering it really bad. He was trying to say meilleur au monde. And I get it. I understand, like, for a native English speaker, it's a mouthful. It's not a series of not of vowels, but of sounds that you make when you speak in English. So when you're trying to say meilleur in English, I mean, I get it. That's how it sounds like, and he's just butchering it. Then you had Renee Young saying he's pretty good. He's not pretty good, Renee. And you're from Toronto. Don't get me started. Don't pretend that you know French if you're from Toronto. There's basically 7 minutes of stalling here for some particular reason. For some incomprehensible reason, Raw started with the McMahon kids for 7 minutes before anything happened. And as I tweeted out, had this been 20-some years ago, 22 years ago, I would have flipped to Nitro. Straight off, man. Seeing both Stephanie and Shane in the ring, flip. Would have watched the NWO. But at least it would have been something. Anyway. But finally, after that, The Miz appears out of nowhere. And this, ladies and gentlemen, will be our first superstar shooken superstar. Tell me, yay or nay, Y or N in chat. Good idea for The Miz to be on Raw or not? Miz. Just like that. So go ahead, chat. Give it. Drop some Y and N's in the chat room. Basically, Miz just runs out. His music hits, but he blindsides Shane. He comes out of the audience. They brawl a bit. Shane starts throwing his working punches, and I'm like, Miz, don't worry. Don't worry. It's just Shane McMahon trying to punch you. It doesn't matter. It's fine. They brawl to the outside a bit. And again, I want to tell Miz, don't worry. 2 weeks ago, you defeated 3 guys. You wrestled 3 guys at the same time, and you beat them. You're good, man. You're fine. Don't worry about it. So yeah. So basically, Miz gets tossed over the barricade, but then he grabs a chair, and then plants a couple on Shane, swings at him some more. He's busted open. I don't know how he managed that, but Miz is just bleeding. We're not done with this feud yet, folks. So Mike Mizanin is on Raw, and I see. No. Jay King says in the middle. No, that's not how democracy works. Democracy doesn't straddle a fence. You go one side or the other. There's no in the middle, Jay. So I'm seeing yays. So I think it is a yay for the Miz here. So yay for Miz for being on SmackDown. But here's something that I want to posit into you, gentle listeners. Does this mean Shane McMahon has been shooken? Does that mean that Shane is on Raw now? Because especially if this feud with The Miz is going to continue, Shane can't remain a SmackDown talent. Wouldn't you say? So, I mean, it's interesting to think about on that end. But maybe Shane has privileges being a McMahon that he can sort of move around wherever he wants, I guess. I don't know. I think that because he's a McMahon, he's an exception. So I'm not going to add him to the board here, because they didn't add him to the roundups either. You know, which talents are being moved around. He wasn't added to that either. So I think we're gonna see what's going on here. What you guys are in the chat, you're saying that there's nays? It's Nay that got on board here, because I see here, I see one yay, two yays, and then three yays. Then I see one nay, another nay. And well, okay, now I see three nays. Well, who wants to cast the tiebreaker? Who wants to cast the tiebreaker while I read some words here? Joe Anthony says, Joe Anthony thinks that the feud is over. This beatdown was just a quick heat segment to get Miz some cheers. CM Phil says he wants Shane off TV. Jay King says Miz should have had at least one WWE Championship reign while on SmackDown. Then we're having yays and nays again. You see, I think Shane just broke the tie here, and it's yays. Yays for Miz on Raw. I think it's good. I think it's okay for Miz to be on Raw. I think he deserves it. I think it's good for him. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have our first match of the evening, and out comes a gentleman by the name of Ricochet. That's right. We have sound effects for Ricochet now as well. Not only does Aleister Black get them. That's right. Ricochet, just to make sure we fully understand what his name means, and just to make it all the more goofier. That's right. We're gonna put that at the start of his theme. God damn it. I don't know. I swear probably someone like in WWE in production accidentally bought a subscription to a service, you know, for a sound effects service, and people are like, damn, well, we You got to start putting these on the show. We got to get our money's worth. Anyway. God, that was dumb. But not as dumb as suddenly, Ricochet comes out. Then Aleister Black with his crickety-rickety apparatus. And they're teaming with Hawkins and Ryder, who don't get a proper introduction. They get the jobber intro, and they're the champs. We get and they're facing the Revival, and then suddenly I hear War Raiders music hits. I'm like, what? Really? That was a bit of a shocker for me, because War Raiders are NXT tag champions right now, at least, as far as we go. And then appearing on screen, they're not called the War Raiders. They're called the Viking Experience. And I'm like, wait a second. Like, at this point, I think it's a rib. Like, that's what I see. And I'm pretty sure I'm like, there's a mistake here. Someone has typed in a falsehood here. But no. They're absolutely calling the War Raiders, War Machine, the Viking Experience. And not only are they calling them the Viking Experience, but they're changing their names. We're not dealing with Rowan Hansen anymore. We're dealing with Eric with a K, because Vikings. And they're calling the other guy Ivar. God damn it. And honestly, folks, I for the first 4 to 5 minutes, I could not properly watch the match. I was crying. I was laughing so hard. I thought this was the most hilarious shit. And it was so dumb. It is on another level of incomprehensible. Like, they could have called them anything at all. I saw on Twitter one person said they should have called them the Pillage People. And that would have actually been better. There were so many other possibilities. They could have just called them the Battle Axes or the Hammers. And, referencing to Thor and all that stuff without actually, going into copyright territory. I could have called them anything. The Valhallans. The Berserkers. But there's already been a Berserker, right? But you know what I mean? The Vikings Experience? What is a Viking? I mean, what are they gonna start talking about? Like, what is the Viking Experience? Are they going to let us? Are they going to tell us about Viking grooming rituals? Are they going to talk? Are we going to talk about food? Medical care? How did Vikings take care of their injured? Games? Pastimes? I don't get it. I really, really don't get it. But one thing's for sure is that the Viking Experience, whoop, this is my red pen. I want to use my blue pen. They're going up on the board, folks. So, the Vikings. There you go. I thought I had spelled it wrong, but I spelled it. So let us know again in the chat. Just by a Y or an N. Y for yay or N for nay. Was it a good idea? Is it good for our poor friends Hansen and Rowe to be up on main roster now? Known as is this a good move for them? Now, this is the third name that we know these guys by. There was no way that WWE was going to let a team or any wrestler be called War Machine. There was no way. First and foremost, because of that UFC guy who almost killed his girlfriend, and he's doing jail for that. And then Marvel, right? I mean, they don't want to get into. I'm pretty sure WWE wants to steer clear from any lawsuits coming in from Disney. I'm pretty sure about that. I don't know why they decided to change. Why they decided to change War Raiders? Is it because they didn't want to have the word war in there? But then it's like the extra level on top of that, changing the dudes' names. Eric and Ivor. There's someone. Man, no wonder people have been quitting. No wonder people have been quitting creative these days. Anyway. The Viking experience. It sounds like, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like a medieval times restaurant, like a themed restaurant where they serve you like, you know, barley porridge. Anyway, when I finally was able to focus on the match after laughing so hard, I can't say it. The Viking experience. They catch Aleister Black doing his lion salt. Ivor and Eric catch him. But as they're holding him, you know, Ricochet comes. He missile drop kicks them out of top rope. And the faces come in and they just toss everyone out. Back from commercial, Eric, who was once known as Ro, slams Hansen, who is now known as Ivor, onto Hawkins and covers him for 2. They keep driving Hawkins down. Double team leg drop by the Revival follows. Dawson covers Hawkins for 2. Hawkins, by the way, your babyface in peril for most of this match. Ryder finally gets the hot tag and the crowd is into it. Ryder takes out the Revival, flying forearm smash. Rick and Aleister tag themselves in, but take out the Viking experience. Aleister with the meteor to the floor. Ricochet parkours off the post to do a moonsault, but completely, like, he lands, instead of landing on Scott Dawson, who's on the outside, he just lands on his feet. But the last minute camera angle switch avoided us to get the full embarrassment. But the match comes to an end when the Vikings beat up on Zack Ryder, and he eats the fallout for the win. So let's see here. I think, let's see. JPQ says, yay. Hey, John Baez, how you doing? We got an N from Michael Stepney. We got a lot of N's. Nay from CM Phil. Mr. Fretz, I think that's an N as well. Shane Haas, Bobby Ruski. It's a big fat N for the Vikings. I have a tendency to agree. I have no idea what they're doing up on Raw so soon, after basically having done nothing in NXT. They haven't wrestled all that much. But here's the real shocker, folks. Then again, you know, we still have tomorrow on SmackDown to see where this goes. But the real shocker to me here is that Aleister Black and Ricochet have not been split up. And I was really, really expecting that. I was really, I mean, and that's where, I still think that's where they should go. I think that's what they need to do. Put these guys in singles competition, have one on one brand and the other on the other. Just simple as that. I don't know what they're doing, but maybe tomorrow night. I mean, commentary put over the fact tonight. That's why I'm not putting them up on the board. They're like, are they on Raw? Are they on SmackDown? Because for the past, like, 2 months, they've been bouncing off the brands. So is it just business as usual? We'll find out tomorrow. However, we did find out after this that my boy, proud papa here, Cedric Alexander, is heading over to Raw. Now, I gotta tell you guys, it's a smart move. Let me know, drop it in the chat. Yay or nay, good idea or not. Gotta tell you guys, I think if you ask your boy Warren, it's a good idea because honestly, I don't know what else. I don't know what else Cedric Alexander could do on 205 Live at this point. He's been champ. He's beaten pretty much everyone. He's in a feud with Oney Lorcan right now. But I think it might end up being a swan song from 205 Live. I mean, good for Alexander. I think it's interesting and might just get some nice, fresh matches. I mean, give me Cedric Alexander and Finn. Give me Cedric Alexander and if they give Cedric Alexander the Mustafa Ali push, he debuts and they give him really high profile matches straight off the bat, against Seth, kind of like when Ali came in and had his matches against AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. Those were some big matches, and it helped build his credibility. They're gonna have to do the same thing. Hey, I am 100% okay. I am here for Cedric Alexander versus Seth Rollins. Everyone seems to be saying yay. And I agree with you guys. Jay King says adds a whole new dynamic to Raw's mid-card. Big yay. Punk, how you doing? Welcome to the chat, by the way. Punk, a recent subscriber on top of that. Thomas Middaw, how you doing? Sports and Things show as well. A whole bunch of faces, new faces as well. Old faces, new faces, some as big as your head. You give him a twist, a flick of the wrist. That's what the showman said. All right, I'm going to leave that. Yeah, a big old yay for Cedric the Sports Entertainer, as Mr. Fretz just quoted him as being. Sentences. So next we have Finn Balor, who comes to the ring, and he's in his blue gear on Raw. He's wearing his blue gear, and he has the Intercontinental title firmly around his waist, and he's coming for a fight, and the fight he's going to get is against Andrade Cien Almas. So, folks, start dropping those yays and nays in the chat. Andrade is your newest scooch over from SmackDown, and I'm down for that. I mean, I think Andrade is another guy who can benefit from all the fresh matches that he can have on Raw, and I think he can really make a case for himself as there as well. Some fantastic possibilities, but he's coming out to Raw for the very first time, and they start off by letting Zelina Vega have some promo time. It was a very normal promo, nothing out of the ordinary. It was good, it wasn't bad, it wasn't excellent, it was good. And Andrade cuts a promo in Spanish, and something tells me if my Spanish was better, I'd probably be like, wow, he's great on the mic. And in the meantime, he gets wadded by the Montreal crowd. Stay classy, Montreal. And then he goes right after Finn when the bell rings. He knees him in the corner a couple of times, hits the running double knees, covers Finn, but only gets one. Finn rolls out of a powerbomb and hits his basement drop kick. Back out, he hits a back elbow on Almas, and I'm like, Finn, don't be throwing back elbows on one of the guys who has probably the best elbow in WWE right now. He whips Almas into the ropes, hits a drop kick. Almas goes to the outside. Balor drop kicks him through the ropes. Goes for a football kick onto Almas from the apron, but Almas pulls Zelina in front of him. And that distraction allows Almas to trip Balor on the apron. Back from commercial, he goes for the corner knees again, but Balor moves out of the way. Finn then hits a basement drop kick in the turnbuckles, and he's starting to favor his knee. He goes for a step up in Zaguri, but it's blocked by Almas in the corner. Top rope shenanigans arrive and ensue, and finishes with Finn hitting a reverse headlock into an elbow drop. Hits the sling blade, but Almas hits a somersault kick that was very, very nice. So nice that WWE production couldn't get it on camera the first time. We had to see it and appreciate it completely on replay. I'm telling you, they're botching a lot these days. Then Almas goes to the top rope to hit his moonsault into a standing moonsault, but Finn lifts his legs on the standing moonsault. Finn hits a shotgun drop kick and then goes up top. Almas fights back and avoids the coup de grace. Hits a back elbow, goes for the hammerlock DDT, gets rolled up by Finn, who dumps Almas to the outside. Zelina then interferes as Finn runs to dive to the outside. She puts herself like right in harm's way so that Finn won't do it. But Finn don't give a fuck. He hits the ropes and hits a tope con hilo over Zelina onto the outside. That was really nice shit, pal. He tosses Almas back in, but Zelina is still on the apron. Andrade distracts the ref, and Zelina hits a Hurricane Rana from the apron onto Finn on the floor. Almas goes and gets him, rolls him back in. Hammerlock DDT connects. Pin, win. Your boy Almas has defeated the Intercontinental Champion. I thought this was a great match. I thought this was a lot of fun, and if this is the first of many, I think it's good because there's I think it's really, really good because we're starting something here. Like, you could feel that the guys wanted to, they were raring to go, holding back a little bit because I think they're going to give this one a little gas, and I'm okay with this, 100% okay, because you know what? I don't think Finn is going to I don't think Finn is going to SmackDown. I really don't, because I think if he were, we would have seen tonight. We would have seen someone with the US. We would have seen our US champion. Wait, who's the Samoa Joe? We would have seen him tonight on Raw, and I'm still okay with Raw, with Samoa Joe being still on SmackDown, but I really thought that they were going to pluck Finn, that they were going to have Finn lose the title, then pluck him over and toss him to SmackDown Live. But apparently not. Anyway, chat is in agreement here. No, I didn't put the X for, but Andrade is a yay. It's a good move for him to be over on Raw. I think there's a lot of great things. I think there's a lot of great things still to come from Charlotte Flair's boyfriend, because that's what he is. CM Phil says it was really good stuff. Easily match of the night. I agree. Punk says love the match he had with Finn tonight. Would love to see an IC title program between them two sometime. J King says, yeah, easily could challenge Rollins for the Universal title sometime. Let's hope Raw's creative team doesn't swallow him up. That's pretty much what we're all hoping. That's what we always hope. That's what we always hope. Oh, Kristen's here. Kristen Ashley's here. And yes, Blaine, I'm going to acknowledge their presence. Thank you. Thank you. Ugh. All right. Anthony from Smart to Death is here as well. So there we go. So that was our match. That was that match here. Next we had Elias who was preparing for a show, and basically saying, you know, that his music is so powerful it brought back the Doctor of Thugonomics and it brought the Undertaker back from the dead. And you know, he's not entirely wrong, if you want to put it that way. You know, he did, you know, two of the biggest stars names that in the history of WWE come out to interrupt him. That does mean something. He makes a joke about the Montreal Canadiens not making the playoffs, as if that matters to me. And he tries to play his music, but Rey Mysterio's music hits. Ray. He as well is on Monday Night Raw now. So folks, let me know in the chat, yay or nay. Is it a good move for Ray to come over to from SmackDown to Raw? And he basically he comes in just to beat up Elias. He misses a springboard Hurricane Rana that really kind of kills the momentum in the crowd. The audience that was really excited to see him, when they see him botch that spot, they were like, oh, you could feel everyone's sort of like, oh, that just made us feel bad. We still love you, Ray, but man, you know, But they still managed to power through it, and Elias bolts, but then Lars Sullivan's music hits. And Ray fights back. He puts up a fight. He doesn't want to just be served up to Lars. Ray fights back quite a bit. He gets some kicks in, but Lars lifts him up by the head at some point from the outside of the apron and lifts him up into a power slam, but Ray wriggles out. He chop blocks the big man, but Ray runs the ropes and is caught into the freak accident, and then is picked up again. And Lars hits a running sit-out powerbomb. He did not do a diving headbutt. And I am happy for that. So if his new finisher now is a running sit-out powerbomb, I am twice as happy, because it's a good power finish that's credible for him and won't paralyze him by the age of 40. So that's good. Oh, Andrew Thompson is here as well, as I'm looking to the chat for their responses, and yay. There's yays all around. So let's put another yay for Ray. So as it stands right now, we only think that the Vikings were a bad idea tonight. Next, we have Chad Gable and Bobby Roode. We're in the ring. They say they can beat any team in WWE. Chad Gable brings back the shoosh, which makes me laugh. I think it's funny for some reason. It just really gets me, and it just tickles me in the right place. And the team that they're facing, none other than the Usos. So, folks, in the chat, yay or nay, good idea for the Usos to be on Raw? Well, let's talk about that in a minute as I go through this match, which was okay. It was there. Match starts off, and it's it's Jay and Gable who mix it up. The Usos are in control until Roode trips Jay up, and he starts to beat him up on the outside. The heels, the heels do heel things. Keep the baby faces away from their corner. Work him down until Jay enziguris, and Jimmy gets the hot tag in. He whips Gable into the ropes and hits a Samoan drop off the ropes. Hip attack in the corner, covers Gable for 2. Armbar over the top rope by Gable. They being Roode and Gable, do a weak sauce double team blockbuster. Bobby Roode basically wasn't even hanging on to Usos' head. Gable tries to go for a rolling German, but a super kick party happens, and the double top rope splash by the Usos as well. I'm happy. I'm happy that the Usos are back on Raw. I think it's a good thing. They've done pretty much everything that they needed to do on SmackDown. Man, they're piling up the tag teams on the Raw division, aren't they? So a lot of yays as well. Sports and Things, Mr. Fretz, Thomas, Andrew. Andrew points out that Montreal popped for Jimmy and Jay, and boy, how did... when I saw SmackDown in Montreal last year, the Usos had a dark match at first, and man, they went crazy. They just went crazy. It was a very loud dark match because it was Rusev Day versus the Usos, so the whole match was really, really loud. So that's good. Everyone seems to think. Seems to think it's a good idea. Sports and Things says Usos versus War Raiders all day, please. No. The Viking Experience. I don't know who these War Raiders are. Kristen Ashley says the Usos are a big yay, especially since they dropped the title to the Boys, and that's how she calls them, the Boys. And there you go. So it's the red one. So the Usos are a yay here. Next we have Sami Zayn coming out on the Alexa Bliss show. In case you didn't know, Sami Zayn's from Montreal. Got a huge reaction. The Montreal crowd loves its local boys. They love the local boys. So he comes out to his music, and he dances and skanks around quite a bit. And they do the music spot 3 times. They started back up 2 other times after his actual entrance, and the crowd is just eating it up. And Sammy is more than happy to deliver. And then he says, this is too easy. Check this out. He says this to Alexa. He says, this is too easy, Alexa. Check this out. He says, Bienvenue, Montréal! The crowd pops because he's speaking French. And then he does he gets the crowd to do the ole, 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 ole chant that everyone in the province does on the minute that you give them an opportunity to. And, he says that he loves the city. He hit up his neighborhood in NDG, which is a neighborhood in Montreal. He says hit up all the cafes on the plateau. The plateau, like he said it. That's how you're supposed to pronounce it in French. And he went and got some bagels from Saint-Viateur. And man, Saint-Viateur is a street in Montreal. And there's a bagel shop there. He's not kidding. He's not kidding. Montreal bagels have a great reputation, and it's mostly because of that bagel shop right there. It's an institution. It's fantastic. And he says he loves the city, but he hates the people. And there's something in the air here. It's just so Quebec. And I loved how he said that. It's just so Quebec. And as he's starting to cut his promo where he's wearing people down, the audience starts chanting for Kevin Owens. Another Montreal boy, of course. And the face that Sammy has is priceless. He's just standing there. He just sits there, and he's got this look of complete and utter contempt. He's like, you sons of bitches. I liked it. And he says, your reaction, it sickens me even more. You project your unaddressed issues onto me, and I'm not accepting it. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. I was born here, but these are not my people. And it's around this point where the Montreal audience starts chanting, On s'en calisse, which is a very naughty French-Canadian expression. Basically can be translated to, we don't give a fuck. But it's actually kind of savage. So that made me laugh. And he says, he lives in Orlando. He chose to leave Montreal, just like he's choosing to leave right now. And of course, he's being walked off with the na 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 hey hey goodbye song. That was a fun promo. I liked it. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Sami Zayn is he's super entertaining. I adore him. I swear, if he doesn't go to SmackDown and join Daniel Bryan's crew, they're missing out on something huge. They really, really are. What do you mean no one cares about the bagels? Everyone, hang on a second. Kristen saying, oh, okay, Warren gets really self-satisfied, gets in self-satisfied mode when there's a show close to his French Canada. First of all, it wasn't close to his French Canada. It was in his French Canada to begin with. Second of all, why wouldn't I put over Montreal bagels? Montreal bagels are fantastic. Mr. Fred seems to understand. He seems probably from Montreal. And, you know, I don't appreciate you coming out here and saying, Kristen, saying no one cares about the bagels. Everyone cares about bagels. Now, if you want to put your spin on things and try to impose your will upon others, you can go ahead and do it. But I know the truth. I know people do appreciate a good bagel, and they like when people talk about bagels. There we go. Jay King says Sami needs to stay away from Owens, and I agree. I think they're at a moment in their career where they can each go their separate ways without having each other influencing each other, basically. So there we go. Joe Anthony, don't encourage her. I don't really care about the bagels. You've never had... You know what? At some point, just before I get really, really famous and turn to ash and collapse under the weight of my own ego, once I have $1 zillion, I'm all going to invite you out here, and we're all going to go have bagels over on Saint-Viateur Street. And you guys are going to be like, oh, you're... You know, the April 15 episode of the Mr. Warren H. Yeah, we're sorry about that, Warren. You were right. Sorry we got you in a tizzy. A tizzy. The Iconics are out, and before then they cut to actually a little promo backstage. The Iconics, by the way, your WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. The Iconics are extending an olive branch to Bayley backstage, saying, you know, we know Sasha's not here, and if you ever want to talk, and Bayley's like, get your hand out of my face. Because Billy Kay's going, if you ever want to talk, Billy's like, fuck off. Don't you tell me, you get that, don't use Sasha, don't put that Sasha word in your mouth, you fucking bitch. That's not what she said, but that's what she wanted to say. And Bayley says, if it's a fight you're looking for, I'll find another partner. And who would that other partner be? Well, it would be none other than Naomi. Apparently hanging around with being transferred with her husband. Or is it the other way around? Were the Usos transferred to follow Naomi? We'll never know. I mean, this was a nothing match. This was like hard to even call it a proper showcase for everyone. I did notice that a part of the crowd was doing the "Hey Bayley" chant, and that always gets me in the feels. Yeah, basically Naomi towards the end fights off both of the Iconics and gets the pinfall victory. Is this a yay or a nay? Is it a good idea for Naomi to have been transferred from SmackDown to Raw, folks? Let me know in the chat, yay or nay. There's already a couple of there's always a couple of no's here. And let's see. Mr. Fred says no. CM Phil says yay, she needs to get off SmackDown Live, and that I kind of agree with. Think she needs a good change of scenery. Thomas agrees. Fresh start. Kristen Ashley, Sports and Things, says yay, yeah, as well. Mr. Fretz, you already said nay. Mr. Fretz, you can't vote twice. We're getting an outpouring of yays here. Bob Aruski says yay as well. So the general consensus is that it was a good idea for her to join. Middle 2006, how you doing? Welcome to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. EC3 comes to the ring. He wants competition, says commentary, and he gets it in the form of Braun Strowman, who comes and demolishes him, and that's pretty much that. Is it too early to say rip EC3's career? I don't know. But it kind of feels that way. I don't think they have big plans for him. Let's put it that way. I really don't. Next, we have Becky Two Belts, who comes out just as Braun is celebrating murdering EC3, tossing him off the ramp and through a stage. Yeah, Metal says just like that. Metal says EC3 needs to go back to Impact. You want to bet? He's kind of regretting it. I think at this point he has to be like, man, I think I fucked up. And he's probably like, man, had I waited 6 months more, I could have probably just like snuck my way into AEW or something. It's a shame. But then Joe Anthony, the wisest amongst us all, tells us in not so many words, to calm the fuck down, Warren. He says it's never too late for anyone's career. All he needs is some rebuilding and maybe a character change. See, people make so much sense. That's why I like having you people around. You people. So basically, there we go. So Becky Two Belts comes out, the champ. You know, and she stares at Braun, and at first, you know, she has both belts and she's holding up the SmackDown title, and she's looking over at Braun, and she's sort of like, and I'm like, is she like kind of looking over at Braun, sort of like, where are your titles, Braun? But no, she was looking over at EC3. It was dead. It's not gonna have a push. He's dead. So Becky basically has a match here against Ruby Riott, who early on in the match gets an elbow in the face, followed by a Luthez press by Becky. She stomps Ruby in the corner, hits a leg lariat, jumping fist off the apron to the outside. Liv Morgan causes a distraction that allows Ruby Riott to hit a flatliner, covers her but only gets two. Ruby then gets a cravat in. Becky starts fighting back. Running clotheslines follow. Flying fist off the top rope, followed by a exploder. Goes up top. Shenanigans ensue, and Ruby drops her off. Just like leg sweeps her off the top rope, and Becky lands flat on her back. Really, and it looked like a hard fall because she was calling something. Had her hand over her mouth, and the ref came over to check on her. And Ruby does that dropped senton where she just like lets herself fall back, and that looks tough to take. But the match comes to an end when Sarah Logan helps Ruby out of a disarmer attempt. Becky then hits a crossbody off the apron onto both extraneous members of the Riott Squad to the outside. Ruby gets back into the ring, and Becky gets the disarmer on her and wins. And then after the match, she beats up Liv and Sarah for good measure. And why not? I think I think it was a good idea. Good, a fine match to make Becky look strong, look dominant. That's exactly what it was about. This is where we found out, by the way, that Eric Young from Sanity is joining Raw. Where the hell are Killian Day and Alexander Wolf? Does this mean that Sanity is being broken up? It sure looks like it. So look here, folks. We're gonna put this here. I'm running out of space, aren't I? Eric Young. Yay or nay, folks? I'm going to jump right in here. I'm going to give it, you know what it is? Since he's there all by himself, it's going to be a big motherfucking nay. It's so... Splitting up Sanity is going to go down as one of the biggest missed opportunities for an NXT call-up. It's crazy. And rest in peace, Eric Young's career. He's not being moved on to Raw so he can become a big-time player. And if he doesn't have Sanity, he's just another guy. Sanity were fantastic in NXT. They were over. People bought into them as a crazy, dominant stable. Nikki Cross was in there. Ugh. That really bothers me. The nay is... To me, the nay is really on two fronts. Breaking up Sanity is a bad idea because they were never given a chance to do anything to begin with. And Eric Young, I mean, that's a career that just, it's wrapping up. Rest in peace, Eric Young's career. WWE career, anyway. And everyone's being very clever. Nay-nitty. Maven Glean says I'm being... is shocked at my language. You've never heard my mom speak. That's the second nay of the night. Now Natalya comes to the ring after all of this. After Becky's match, she comes to the ring and she cuts a promo, basically saying that she basically calls out Becky. Basically says that she's coming after the Raw Championship. And she calls herself the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. And the Montreal crowd didn't care for it much, eh? Didn't think, the Montreal crowd still has a... We remember Bret. Let's put it that way. Remember Bret Hart. So didn't care for that much. But then Becky puts Natalya's contributions to the women's evolution over as well. And that brings out Lacey Evans. She calls Natalya a classless has-been. She calls Becky and Charlotte, not Becky and Charlotte, excuse me, Becky and Natalya a couple of nasties. And she says that she is a lady who knows how to use her influence to get exactly what she wants, says she as she bends over a little. And she says now that she's officially on Monday Night Raw, we're gonna have to start impeding Lacey Evans. Yay or nay, folks? She wants to be the #1 contender for the Raw Women's title. So that sets up an immediate match against Natalya here versus Lacey Evans for the #1 contendership to the Raw Women's Championship. Natalya has some of her classic offense early on, atomic drop off the top rope to the mat, her basement drop kick, neck breaker, then she tosses Evans outside to the floor. Back from commercial, Natalya is trying to get her into the sharpshooter, but Evans rolls to the outside. Natalya not basement, but baseball slide drop kicks Evans. Gets her back in the ring. Natalya goes face first into the turnbuckle, though, and Evans rams her head against it some more. She gets Natalya into a Cobra clutch, double knees her arm, not arms, but just one arm. Goes for a suplex, but gets, Natalya does, goes for a suplex, but it gets reversed by Evans into a roll-up for 2. Natalya fights back and hits her discus clothesline, and then gets the sharpshooter on Evans, who eventually makes it to the bottom rope to break up the submission attempt. And the match comes to an end when Evans knocks Natalya out with the women's right. But apparently it's not his finisher. It's not her finisher anymore. And that's good because punches as finishers are stupid. No, her finisher is actually a Marrow-Salt. You know, the moonsault that Mark Marrow would do. Mark Marrow would be would climb up on the top rope, facing the ring, and then would jump and spin and springboard himself off the top rope in a moonsault. But she does it from the second rope, going up onto the top one. But regardless of how her technique is, her legs landed straight into Natalya's ribs. That could not have felt good. That was not good. That was not good. And I mean, if she wants to do the Marrow-Salt as her finisher, well, she's gonna have to put a little more effort into it. Otherwise, just do the women's right as the stupid finisher, because you have a much. It's easier to absorb. Let's put it that way. So there we go. So we have a May from Kristen Ashley, but what's a May? May's, it's either yay or nay. I don't know what that is. Robert Larry says, so Becky will defend the Raw title one week, then defend the SmackDown the other week. Does that make any sense? Well, I think it's mostly like she's the champion of the women's division, and the women can only challenge for the belt, that they can only challenge for the title that they're on their brand. I guess that's what it means. Was that a sentence that made sense? I don't think so. But you know. Yeah. I mean, I put Lacey Evans up on the board, but I mean, she wasn't on a brand anyway. She was just walking. She was doing catwalk stuff. We go backstage to Charlie Caruso, who's creeping around the men's locker room and wants to know who the third man is. And Seth and Roman come out to cut a promo, and we almost see who that third person is. He comes out a little impromptu-ish. Live television, folks. Then we get a promo. We get a promo with a haunted dollhouse and a ventriloquist dummy at the end. Would that be Sister Abigail? Is this still Bray Wyatt between these toys here and the vulture puppet? Is suddenly suddenly is he did Bray Wyatt open like a curio shop, like a haunted curio shop, and all these toys are like little possessed demons? I don't know what they're going to do with this. Want to point out that we didn't see Broken Mirror Mojo this week with his eye infection. Don't know about that one. Don't know where he's going again. I mean, they can start and stop this one as many times as they want. I've lost count. Main event time. 6-man tag team match. Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and Robert Lashley versus Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, your Universal Champion, and a mystery partner from SmackDown Live. They do the long-winded order. Look, one of those three heels, Drew, Baron, or Lashley, one of those three has to go to SmackDown. I can't bear to see these guys in a team anymore. I'm done with it. If only to never see those three in a 6-man tag ever again on the same side. That'll be something. So basically, your surprise third person in this match is none other than AJ Styles, former WWE champion. You know, by the way, we didn't see Jinder Mahal tonight. Does that mean he's heading back to SmackDown Live, which is truly his land of opportunity? Perhaps so. I'm looking forward to seeing what former WWE champion Jinder Mahal will do. So guys, let us know. Let me know in the chat. Yay or nay? Good move for AJ Styles to go on Raw or not? Let's talk about the match. Which it starts with Seth and Rollins double teaming Bobby Lashley. They shoulder block him down, do the wishbone. Styles then tags himself in, but immediately Lashley drives him into his corner. But, you know, AJ Styles fights out of it. So we get, next is Styles versus Corbin in the ring. Corbin runs the ropes and Styles delivers a drop kick. In comes Drew, who points for Roman. And he obliges. They trade some strikes. Clotheslines in the corner on Drew by the big dog. Roman runs the ropes, but he eats an overhead belly-to-belly suplex, which I thought was cuckoo crazy. Gets covered, but only gets 2. Then he gets suplexed by Drew McIntyre. Covers, but only gets 2. Corbin then drives Roman into the barricade on the outside. Hits a backbreaker. Covers Roman. Only gets 2 again. Back from commercial. Rollins sling blades Corbin. Takes out Drew on the outside. Super kicks Corbin. Kick to the midsection. Goes for the stomp. But Baron Corbin rolls out of the way. It allows him to get back in control. He slams Seth down. Covers him for 2. Some top rope shenanigans ensue, followed by a blockbuster by Seth Rollins. And Styles gets the hot tag. He takes Lashley down, hits a stinger splash, boots the big Bobby Lashley in the face. Pele kick follows, and then another Pele kick to Corbin, who's trying to run some interference. Styles tries to go for the Styles Clash, but instead eats a Claymore by your man Drew, who interrupts the Roman spear and tosses Roman to the outside. Kick by Rollins follows. And then we have everyone hits their finishers on Bobby Lashley. We'll get to the end here. Everyone hits their finishers on Bobby Lashley after he hits a spinning dominator. And Chad, this is something it seems to me the ref sort of screwed up here. I swear there was a 3 count. I swear there was a 3 count when AJ Styles ate that spinning dominator thing. And I think it was Roman who ran in, and I'm pretty sure he came in too late. It looked like the ref had hit 3, and he had gone like this for the bell. It looked like, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, chat, but it looked like it was a 3 count. So basically here, Lashley eats everyone's finishers. I think that's a sign he's heading over to SmackDown. I think he's dead to everyone on Raw now. And AJ Styles wins his debut. No big surprise here. Yeah, everyone seems to be happy. It's about damn time, says John Baez as well, regarding Styles being on Raw, and I think it's good as well. You know, he's been up and down the roster over on SmackDown Live. You got some fresh matches here against Roman, against Seth, against Finn. Got a lot of great stuff. It was it was the best move to do to get AJ over on Raw. Thomas says, I want AJ versus Seth as well, and willing to wait until Mania next year to get it. John says AJ versus Finn, can't wait. Anthony from Smart to Death says Finn and the club are going to SmackDown. Finn will be renamed the Irish Experience, and the club will remain the Bodyguard Experience. Oh, that's fantastic. And yeah, yes, you know, we do get AJ Styles and Finn Balor on the same show. That's interesting. It's just too bad that Gallows and Anderson aren't going to be around anymore to have any type of fight for the club. So basically, if we look at our Warren board one more time before leaving, folks, the only two individuals, or at least two Shooken superstars that chat has a tendency to think that it's not a good idea that they were moved around were the War Raiders up from NXT and Eric Young and Splitting Up Sanity. And I have a tendency to agree. Everything else makes sense. And I think everything else has potential for some fresh matches, some new stuff. I thought this wasn't a bad episode of Raw. If it, I think the surprises were fun. There were just enough surprises for to be fun. It was a little light on the action. We had a really good match in Andrade versus Finn, which is promising for the future as well. There's a lot of good stuff. I think going forward, there's a lot of promise, but I mean, it all depends on what they decide to do with WWE. Whole bunch of people we didn't see tonight, whole bunch of ladies, whole bunch of women we didn't see tonight as well on Raw. This is all going to come full circle tomorrow on SmackDown Live, and I hope everyone comes and joins me again, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. No, Eastern Daylight at this time of year. Eastern Daylight time. That everyone comes and joins me for my SmackDown Live recap. I want to thank everyone for joining this evening. It's always such a good time, and I'm privileged. It's truly a privilege for me to have all of you come on in after the show and just hang around and listen to me and make the chat such a lively, wonderful place. Thank you very much. And it's also a privilege, regardless of where you're listening right now. I really, really do appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show. So tomorrow SmackDown, guys. Hope you pop back in here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. Should be a lot of fun. In the meantime, I want to thank you all one last time, and I'll see you next time.